Hi, everyone, both in person and online. Please bear with me. This is my first hybrid meeting I've ever done, so hopefully it goes okay. I'm here today to talk to you about connecting to library resources and services. I'm Alyssa Grimshaw. I'm the liaison for urology. A little background about myself, because I think it's always helpful to know who you're working with. I have a master's in library science, a postmaster's advanced certificate in interprofessional information, which is just a fancy way for librarians to say healthcare research for librarians. I'm getting an MBA from Southern New Hampshire University and will be graduating in August. So I may have some skills that are outside the normal skill set of a librarian. So if you're working on any kind of like cost analysis or hospital quality, I also have a different skill set, and I'm happy to bring those to the table if you want to collaborate. Okay, so to jump into library services, for this presentation, I like to make these as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. I have the chat up, so hopefully I'll be able to monitor them. Comments, in addition to anyone, feel free to unmute your mic and ask questions, because I want to make sure that everything that we're covering is helpful for you and you're getting all the resources that you need. The way that the presentation will work is I'll go through the slide deck, and then we can do some live demos of the software that we use here at Yale. Our learning objectives for today is what is available for library resources, how to search more effectively and efficiently, how citation management software can enhance your research, and how to stay up to date on the medical literature, which I know is a lot to cover. So we'll also send out the slide deck, and I can forward an email if we don't get to everything today. So first thing, welcome to Yale. We're here to help you. And I should say we're a completely free resource. So anything you ever come to me with, or any of the support services that we give, it's completely free. So whether that's literature searching, access to any of our materials, our interlibrary loan, it's completely free. So please feel free. Please feel please utilize us as much as you can. So we're here for personalized help, and that's access to resources. I can help with NIH grant compliance, searching the literature, citation management software, systematic reviews and evidence synthesis. We do library tours. So if you bring your family on a weekend and you want to go show them the Cushing Center brain room downstairs, I'm available to help with that, or to facilitate someone to be able to do the tour for you if it's not while I'm here. And then we can also do personalized classes. I'll show you on the library calendar all of our classes. And for the most part, if there's something on the calendar and it's not a time that's good for you, I can do a personalized class for a group of you or just one-on-one, with the exception of the peer-to-peer teaching, because unfortunately, those are all genomics and it's not my area of expertise. So here at Yale, you have access to all the top medical databases, thousands of medical e-journals and e-books, and a whole suite of mobile apps such as Dynamed Plus, Visual DX, up to date. And then also we have resources and training guides special for each of the specialties. I'm also happy to create a custom one. So for instance, for other departments, I'll have ones for their residency journal clubs or other things like that, where I can store that information in a way that is easy for you guys to access. We also have library classes, and that's on EndNote, creating the best poster, kind of like web design stuff. We have R classes. And then we also have video tutorials for, when you need to brush up on those skills and you don't want to sit through the whole 45-minute lecture. We've got them all broken down into like 5-minute classes, so you only have to watch the part that you're looking for. We also provide support for bioinformatics, statistics and GIS, data research, and scholarly communication and research impact. In particular, it's super helpful if you have to go up for promotion, or when you're almost done with your residency and you need help putting together your information. We can do a search, find all of your publications, and also pull your H-index reports and kind of come up with those. I can also do on Boss View are these things about how like you have worked with multiple people and kind of mapping the medical literature in a visual way that looks really cool on resumes or things like that too, if anyone's interested. We have a full systematic review and evidence synthesis project service. So whether you're working on a scoping review, a rapid review, or a full systematic review meta-analysis, we're available to collaborate on those. We have kind of like a 2 different service line where one, I can come in as a consultant, read your search strategy, give you some comments, and then you guys can, go on with your project, or we can be more collaborators and the librarian will join as a co-author. And we will do all the searching for you, upload all the results, handle the data management and preservation of that information in line with either Yale's research data policy or the journals. Okay, so then I also love to talk about our interlibrary loan service. So if you ever hit a paywall, please do not pay for anything. We have a team of interlibrary loan specialists that will order the interlibrary loan from other institutions. Typically, it only takes, I've had it as short as someone was in a grand round, ordered something and got it before the end of the grand round previously. But at most, it's like 1 to 3 days. Of course, there's always the caveat of something really rare or something from the 1800s. It'll take us a little more time to get, but typically you get it within 1 day. We also have off-campus access to library resources. And I always like to tell everyone when you're having problems with our off-campus, typically if you just clear your cookies and cache, it eliminates the problem 99.9% of the time. And you don't have to call the IT service line. It's just really, really quick and easy. Okay, so for accessing the on campus, we have Epic in the workstation. So all of the movable workstations in the hospital do have library resources on them. And within Epic, there's the library resources tab that has all of the databases that are owned by system-wide. So if it's something that only Bridgeport Hospital owns and not just Yale, it wouldn't be in Epic. So please don't think that is the exhaustive list of everything available here, because it's only our primary availability that's system-wide. But there is up-to-date Dynamed, Visual DX, clinical key within Epic. Additionally, in the next week or so, fingers crossed, Epic is supposed to be integrating a Ask a Librarian feature within Epic. So from now on, you can just click that Ask a Librarian, write your question, it sends it directly to us, and you don't even have to leave the electronic record, health record to send us a request. This is a picture of our library's website. And you can see there's lots of stuff on here, but I just wanted to highlight the support for clinicians and YNHH. We've kind of compiled all the resources that we think is probably most important to you on that page, and I'll show it to you a little later. But you have point of care tools in there, guideline databases like TRIP, which I really recommend if you haven't tried out yet, and I will also demo that later. So Easy Proxy is the easiest way to access our resources from off campus. And essentially how this works is if you enter from the library's website, all of our resources will have this Easy Proxy link before the resource, and it will essentially tell the resource that you're here at Yale. And it does require you to sign in one time per session on your browser. So it'll just ask you to sign in with either your Yale NetID and password or your hospital Epic information. Additionally, you can take this URL link, put it before any publisher's website, and it will then recognize that you're here at Yale and allow you to access the PDF. And like I said, that is only one time per browser. So anytime you use it after that, that day, it'll just recognize that you're there and you won't have to keep entering your information, which is really nice. And we've already discussed our interlibrary loan, but you can access it directly from our main website here. And same thing, you would sign in by CAC or by your hospital username and password. So my most exciting thing, we are more than just books here at the library. We have a full game and puzzle collection that's rentable. They go out for 7 days. And I'm in charge of the game collection, and I can tell you there's some really good ones down there, not just like Monopoly. We also have phone chargers, laptop chargers, cameras, and video equipment. So essentially the med students have to make a like a full video of something. So we have like rolling dollies, GoPros, like you name it, we probably have it. We also have a really expensive camera that's super nice. So say you're taking family photos or something and you want to rent that for the weekend, you can do that too. We have projectors and laser pointers too. So I always like to highlight this, even though it's not really the library per se, but downstairs 2 levels, we have, which is actually directly downstairs 2 levels here. There is the ITS help desk, and they are available currently. You have to make an appointment to go see them, but normally it's a walk-in center, and they said that they're going to, similar to pre-pandemic situations, hopefully starting next week, where you can just walk in. But they are able to work on your personal computer in addition to your Yale computer, and they can fix random things or have a look at it. And I also always like to highlight the Yale software library, because there's awesome things in there that you can download, and that's where you would download the EndNote for Yale, which is completely free, but they also have the Adobe Creative Suite, statistical software. Most of the things in the software library is completely free to you, but some of the statistical software, there is a small payment, which is significantly less than if you tried to get the subscription yourself. Additionally, on all the library computers, all the statistical software is also there too. And in the 24/7 room downstairs, we have a supercomputer. So if you're running major, huge data sets, I think that computer has like, I don't know, a terabyte of RAM or something absolutely insane. And then just one thing to always remember is the free storage on Yale Box. And then just making sure that you're either on the appropriate Yale secure box or regular box when you're uploading the information to our resources. Special collections. So the Cushing Center is downstairs, and we have over 300 brain and tumor specimens, in addition to some other specimens. And those were all donated by Harvey Cushing. It's a very interesting exhibit space, so I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't done so already. Our historical library is actually one of the best in the country, if not the world. And they have really amazing collections. So if you have any interest in the history of medicine, I highly recommend that you check it out while you're here. We have things dating back to like the 1400s. And so it's really interesting to be able to go down and look at all of that stuff. And I mean, if you want to check something out and you don't have a research question in mind, you can still ask for it to get pulled from downstairs. Our collection is here for you guys to use. So whether it's, you know, the earliest edition that we have of the MSLIS or something like that, definitely check it out while you're here at Yale. And then in addition to having access to the medical library, you have access to all of the other university libraries. So whether your information is business or you're doing something that is overlapping with medicine and divinity or arts and humanity or the law library, you have access to all of those collections with your Yale ID. In addition to Sterling Memorial Library has a really good leisure reading collection, and they will mail out all of that information here to the medical libraries if you're going on vacation and just need a book to read and you don't want to touch anything medical while you're on your downtime, that's possible too. So where are we located? We are located in the Cushing-Whitney Medical Library, the L Wing. But we also do have a clinical study center in the St. Rayfield's building. It's actually right next to the urology waiting room. And no one knows that that room exists. So it's really quiet. So if there's ever like a HIPAA protected phone call you need to make, you can always hide in there because it's very quiet. It also has a really good printer that always has paper. So if you need something printed, you can get on those computers too. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about databases. There are a lot of databases here at Yale for you to choose from. So the major ones are probably PubMed, Medline, Embase, Scopus, and Web of Science. We've highlighted them in this popular resources box right on our website. PubMed is really great because it's very easy to search, and they try to make it as easy as possible. But some of the other databases might be better depending on the research question. For instance, Embase has more drug and device information. So if you're doing a search where you're really focusing on a drug, you might want to look at Embase. It also has more European literature. And unlike PubMed, it also has conference abstracts. So if there is something that you are attempting to look at that, it's brand new and probably wouldn't be published yet, you might want to look at Embase just to see who is doing research on that so that you can look into them. Scopus and Web of Science are very similar, have very similar collections. If you're doing something more bench science, you'd want to do Web of Science. Scopus has a little bit more medical humanities in it. Both of those databases have the ability to do citation chasing, which is really nice if you have an article and you're trying to look for similar articles, or if you're really interested in the work one person is doing, then you would be able to go off of those and kind of like chase the science in a different way that isn't directly like a search. So we'll try some of these quick tips and tricks when we get to the demo part, but it's always good to think of these when you're searching the databases. So you can use truncation, which is putting a star at the end of a word. So like child, you would get child or children. You want to do quotations around certain phrases, so that way it's only searching that direct information rather than looking at everything. So if we did post-traumatic stress without the quotations, it would be looking at different things in the entire abstract instead of forced together. So you could be pulling in more relevant things and wasting your time looking at papers that aren't relevant. You want to use Boolean operators or and then. So or you would broaden your search by doing different pseudonyms, and you're narrowing your search by kind of putting the concepts all together. I like to do it line by line. So doing all my ors for a concept and then anding all those lines together. When you're putting things in parentheses, you can make the search more complicated. As you can see here, child or adolescent and post-traumatic stress disorder. And one thing everyone always forgets is to include British spellings because you wouldn't be capturing all of the literature and there might be something really relevant. Okay, so you've searched the databases and then what do you do with all the information? So I recommend that you use a citation management software. EndNote is free for Yale affiliates in the Yale ITS library, but that's not the one that you have to use. Zotero is a free software. And then the hospital subscribes to RefWorks, which is also available to you. I will say EndNote is the most robust. And I think that it depends on what software you're using to write the manuscript. If you're using Word, it's better to use EndNote. If you're using Google Drive, it's easier to use Zotero. And why use the citation management software? It makes it easier to organize your research. You don't have to worry about citation styles when you're writing your paper. In EndNote in particular, you can tell it to go find the full text, and it will find everything that is available here at Yale. For some reason, it doesn't like the journal Blood. So there are random journals, that's just one that I know off the top of my head, that it just doesn't map very well. But for the most part, it will pull in all of those papers. It also makes it easier to collaborate with colleagues and send the file from one person to another. And my favorite is just the saving time in formatting, especially if you get rejected at one journal and you need to reformat to another. It's not going to be hours of your life going around and changing the periods and making everything a subscript or a scripted number. And then there's several ways for you to stay current. You could set up an RSS feed directly to your email. We could set up an auto alert in one of your favorite databases, whether it's PubMed, Ovid, Embase, Scopus, Web of Science, etc. All of them have search, auto search capabilities. And then I will highlight this more specifically, but Read by QXMD it's called the Pinterest for doctors, essentially. And it puts all of the journal articles in little pins, and it allows you to save them and get alerts directly to your phone. But I can understand why, you've got a million apps on your phone, you don't want one more alert. But the really nice thing about this is they started adding preprint from the preprint servers. So you get the newest literature as soon as it's available. And it's very clear when it's a preprint rather than something that's been published, which is also really nice. And so this kind of like shows you what the Read by QXMD looks like, with the little pins, and then you can save them. The really nice thing about that is you can pick certain journals you want to follow or topics. And then there's also curated lists made by other physicians or healthcare professionals that you can follow, which is also really nice if you're studying a particular disease or disorder. Okay, so before we get into the live demo, I just want to talk about how you would contact me to set up a time to talk about your project. You can email me, or you can schedule an appointment directly with me. I have this scheduling software that's included here with the direct link or in my signature, and you can always schedule a time on my calendar. You don't have to ask. Just pick a time that works for you and send it. I do have an unusual schedule. I work Sunday through Thursday, 12 till 8 p.m., but I'm happy to meet outside of that time if that works best for you. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing my screen for a second. If anyone has any questions, I would love to answer any of them about what we talked about. And if not, I will jump into a demo of the databases. No questions.
You may have said this already, I may have missed it, but on your cell phone, can you download so that you have access to all the Yale things, such as data search, like PubMed, where you can actually pull up the articles up to date, all of those sorts of things?
Yeah. So you can put Cisco AnyConnect right on your cell phone. You can also use the Easy Proxy link directly on your cell phone to be able to access that. We do not have a library app in particular, but we have access to the suite. So you can do Clinical Key. Use Central has PubMed on them. So you can search all of PubMed in addition to all of the clinical calculators, I believe, are also in there. And then Dynamed and UpToDate are separate apps too. So there's not one easy way to search it consistently. It's through a suite of apps on your phone. Okay, so this is the library's main page. And this is that clinician's portal that we've created for you. And you have lots of options here. So our full suite of mobile apps is located here. It has the information where you can access it, how to download it. It also gives the Micromedics code, which changes annually, which is really frustrating. But it also gives more helpful information. Like for instance, if you're UpToDate or Dynamed or Visual DX subscription is giving you a weird message. Most of the time it's just because you haven't connected to the Yale Secure, the hospital Secure, or the VPN connection in a while. It has to happen every 3 months to re-up your Yale subscription. So most of the time that information is there, and you can look at this guide or also click into the resource to look more at each one. It should also go to your Google Play or Apple Store, that's what it's called, if you click on any of these, so that you can easily download them on your phone. And if you have any problems with those, just let me know. I'm happy to walk you through all of our apps. So anyways, there are point of care tools, evidence-based practice tools. We also have this great continuing medical education resource guide that I just want to highlight real quick. It shows all of our resources and also some free resources that you can get, medical education, and gives you step-by-step guides of where exactly on the app to look at to claim that information if you have to compile it yourself. Okay, so yeah, and then there's also the off-campus access and the easy proxy link, but I'll make sure that my slides go out to everyone so that you guys have that easy proxy starter URL. Okay, so we also have two library catalogs. If you're looking for articles, quick search, you could search that. It's really great if you have an article from like PubMed and you're trying to see if we have access and you just aren't sure, that would be a good use of quick search. But in general, I think that's used more across campus than here because we have like PubMed and the other databases that are really more robust at searching for articles. Orbis is what I recommend for searching books and journals, just because if you go in here, it has the ability to go into the advanced search and search by ISBN or ISSN, which makes looking for journals way easier. I do recommend looking at our e-journals and e-book list rather than searching all of that. So for instance, I could search urology and it's going to bring me up any journals that we own and tell you where it's located, whether it's online or in person. And then you can kind of use this to filter if you're looking for like a book and you want it to be in person, etc. You can kind of go here or the publication date, which I'm assuming most people probably will not want to go all the way back to 1703, but we can limit it by later years. So I also want to highlight the importance of using the PubMed at Yale if you're doing just random searching. So PubMed at Yale is really great. So let's just do UTI and go into the first one that comes up. So you can see that this is obviously really easy to download because it's open access. But if you go into the Yale links, sorry, my computer's moving very slow. It gives you the opportunity to look at where we have access to this resource. So we have free access through PubMed Central, but then we also have it as part of our paid collection in Science Direct. So you could just click the find full text here. But if we did not have it, there would be a different button here that actually says I'd like to request a copy delivered, and that will actually pre-populate the interlibrary loan form so that you don't have to fill out all of that information. It also gives our team more robust information like the PMID number, and it makes it easier for us to track down that information. So I highly recommend using this link resolver to order interlibrary loan, and that's why using PubMed with that at Yale is really important so that you see that information. Okay, so just quickly shifting gears here. We did our search for UTIs, right? One thing to keep in mind, and I should have tested this before, but for the most part, acronyms are not always properly mapped in PubMed. So if you're looking for urinary tract infection, we just searched UTI. And if you don't go into the advanced search, you won't be able to see exactly the information that is being pulled in here. So we can see that it's actually not searching the controlled vocabulary. It's not searching for urinary tract infection. It's literally only putting things that have UTI somewhere. And say, I don't know if there's like a university that has UTI as their name, but this could potentially be pulling in papers where, because it's searching all fields rather than title and abstract. So you're pulling in different information that's not as relevant. I always recommend that you go into the advanced search builder, even if you're doing like a simple search, and then just doing the title and abstract or title, abstract, and keywords, just because you'll reduce background noise and narrow the results that you have to look at. One thing I do always like to point out in PubMed is the mesh database. So it's always important that you're searching the controlled vocabulary. So say we're doing urinary tract infections again. The reason why this is so nice is because you can just add it to your search builder and it will search in PubMed for you, but it also gives you a list of entry terms. So kind of like all the ways you may see this term within the database, and it shows you the hierarchy. So the medical subject headings, MESH stands for medical subject headings, and the way that it works, it's a hierarchy. So there's things above it and below it. So above urinary tract infection is the infections, and below it are these specific bacteria that could cause a urinary tract infection and would have more terms for you to add to your search. You can also see that it is in multiple different trees. So you may not want to include all of them and just some of them. And you also may say, I want it to be more generic, and I don't want to include everything below it on the MESH term. And if you click this button, it's only going to include things that have that higher term and not any of the lower ones. Also, when the medical subject headings are assigned, it's done by a person. It's typically a nurse, a doctor, and a pharmacist. Although they're talking about going to more automated computer model, but currently it's done by people. And they pick like 10 things that they say is like the aboutness of the article, but then they'll highlight 2 or 3 that are the major topics. So if you're looking for a very specific topic, you may want to restrict it to the major topic, which means that it's the major focus of the article. Especially if you're getting so much information and you're just doing like a quick clinical question and you just want a quick answer, this may be able to help you a lot. So restrict to major topic, and then you can add to the search builder and then search PubMed, which is really nice. And you can see our UTI search only brought back 11,000 or something like this, and this is bringing back 35,000. So it's a major difference when you start adding the controlled vocabulary. And another thing I always like to highlight is the clinical queries. So if we stick with urinary tract infections, let's just say in children for some reason, we can look at the filter for therapy, diagnosis, or prognosis, and then adjust the scope to narrow or broad terms. These are all validated search hedges. And you can look at more information here. Most of them are from Cochrane or McMaster, so they're very trustworthy, and it's a great way to reduce the volume of your search, especially when you're doing a clinical question. I also wanted to highlight real quick, let's go back, just this search real quick. The filter is on the left side. I'm sure everyone knows about because everyone searches PubMed, but I just want to show if we limited it to guidelines, we only have 94 results here. And then if I go into Yale Medical Library, and back into here, I just want to highlight this. It's a completely free resource called TRIP, but it has all of the guidelines compiled in one place. So if I go urinary tract infection, we can see that there's way more guidelines available on this topic in TRIP. The really nice thing about this is they break it down by country. So if you're looking for like a specific thing that you know that they do in Australia that they don't do here, you may want to look at that guideline to see what evidence that they're using in their guideline. It's also really good about filtering by study design, whether it's control trial or systematic review. And then they also have patient pamphlet information, which can be really helpful to just grab in a quick way. So I really love this software. This database is one of my favorites, and I hope that everyone will use it too because it's really, really fast. They also have a Pico search, so if you have a more exhaustive information, you can break it down by your patient intervention, comparison, or outcome. Any questions about that? Okay, so that is advanced searching for PubMed. I do recommend that you try out some of our other databases though. Go back here. In particular, I think that Scopus is a great option for you guys when searching. So say we do your track infection again, and then search this database. The reason why I like this is because sometimes you don't have time to look at all the literature, right? You just want the major papers in the field. So I could switch my sort by type to cited by highest, and it will pull the papers that have been cited the most. So that way, I don't know why it's got a Parkinson paper as the top one. So that's odd. But anyways, we may want to look at this to determine whether or not it's relevant. The only problem with Scopus is there's no controlled vocabulary, so you can't make it as exact as you can in the Medline, PubMed, and base world. But it is a good way to just make sure that you've caught everything. So sometimes I'll run a very specific PubMed, Medline, and base search, and then I'll go into this software and make sure that there's not a big major paper that's missed. So that way we can make sure that you're seeing all the important things that are being published. It is also a really great software because say you have a person that you really want to follow and you're like, wow, they're publishing on the topics that I'm very interested in. You can go in and see what they've published. You can set an alert so that every time they publish a paper, you get notified. It also has like the H index, their most frequent co-authors. So I've had people use this in a way that like they will target other co-authors so that they can start working with a research group. So that is another thing that you could do if you're really looking to expand and focus on a particular person. I sometimes call Scopus like having the ability to do professional Facebook stalking. So just something to think about when you're doing your research. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about our citation management software capabilities. And I'm going to stop share for just a moment while I bring up EndNote. Okay, so EndNote is my preferred citation management software. I just think it's really easy to use. It has robust services. Zotero, which is the free open access software, is very similar. But the benefits to this is Yale pays for the subscription to EndNote. So there's a lot of extra bonuses. For instance, there's a hotline where Yale users are expedited in the call log. So typically it only takes 2 minutes to get any kind of question answered, which is really helpful versus the other software where it's a lot of like, you need advanced technological skills to be able to kind of adapt it in different ways. There are 2 different ways to set up your EndNote file. You can do one EndNote file to rule them all. So all of your projects are within EndNote and you set up different groups. So for instance, if I was doing urinary tract infections as one paper, I could do that, and project B, and then just have all of my citations here and drag and drop them in the different things. The way that I use it, because I collaborate with multiple people, is I have each project has its own EndNote file. For instance, this one I'm working on a scoping review about medicine in Latin American countries and the partnerships that they are doing there. So that it's set up in that way, and then I break down my groups by the different databases that I've searched. So in EndNote, I can go Command or Control A and highlight all of my papers and right click and do some really great things such as find full text. So I could send out the bot to download the full text articles on all of these. I'm not going to do that many. Let's just do this one and hopefully it's something Yale owns. I can also do shift and then click and highlight a certain subset of the papers, which is helpful too if you're, wanting to drag and drop just specific papers into a folder. I did not find my PDF. Let's try this one. One thing I also really like this software for is that, when you download papers and they're in press, so it hasn't been assigned the issue, the page numbers, or any of that information, we could actually right click and tell it to find reference updates. So if you did your search at some point and it was in press, and then by the time you go to publish, it's not in press, you don't have to manually go and change that, that reference. You can just click this. It will find the article in Web of Science because this is a Clarivate. So it's telling me that it's up to date. There's no changes. But if there was a change, it would say, okay, this has been updated. Here's the issue number and the pages. You update it, and then it updates your manuscript automatically, which is really, really nice. You can also create smart groups. So let's just grab this. And say, I want everything by this author in one group. This is really great for updating your CV. If you just dump all of your citations into EndNote, it will automatically pull them. And as you download more papers into your EndNote file, they will also get pulled into this folder. So it will continuously update for you. You do have the capability of doing online searching within EndNote. I don't recommend it. It's going to pull in a lot of irrelevant papers and just create more work for you. So I recommend that you go to the database itself. Sorry, I thought I shared my whole screen. For instance, if I was in PubMed, I could do send to citation manager right here. Do all results on page, all results in sections, and it's super easy. You just click create file, it downloads, and it's already putting it into my EndNote file for me, which is really great. Let's see. I'm not on the VPN. That's why it is not mapping to any of our resources. So typically, for the find full text, you do need to be on the Yale VPN to have it download our information. So I will say though, the PDF reader in here is really nice. You have the ability to highlight, cross things out, make messages. And then as you scroll this information, it will put the PDF here where you can see it, and we'll have all those notes. So I've had people work on papers and then, you get busy and you have to go on your clinical rotation and you don't have time to do anything. So so they don't remember where they're at. So they'll highlight all the papers within EndNote or just put a note on the top of it that says, I've read this, done, or whatever. And you can easily see where you left off, which I think is really important because I also struggle with that. So that's like the major things in EndNote with the exception of cite while you write. I can quickly show off that feature. Oops. Obviously close my computer without closing all my Word documents. Sorry about that. I just want to blank one. Okay, perfect. So say we do first point of the paper. And we go into this EndNote X20 tab. I can click insert citation, and I know that there's papers by this author. So it will pull up those papers that I was thinking about and I can insert it. Say I didn't get into this paper and I decided to submit to the Journal of General Internal Medicine, it will automatically change to be in that format. So for instance, this added that DOI at the end. Let me change it to one that will change the citation style. So that added a number up here. Say my second point is better than my first. And I want to just add more citations. I can actually go into EndNote, which I really like this feature. Hit Control or Command on a Mac. Select random citations that I want to cite here. If I go back into the Word and click Select Random Citations, it's actually going to pull those ones that were highlighted, which is really great because you can chat. Yes, I completely agree. No one should be writing a paper without a citation management software. And I do teach a full hour-long EndNote class. I'm happy to teach that to anyone that wants more specific skills. But in general, EndNote is super easy to use. You can probably figure it out on your own. But yeah, so it will automatically add those citations in, renumber all the things in your paper so you don't have to worry about it. An important thing to note is, say I cited 4 and then I wanted to remove one of them, I can actually go into Edit Citations More, and it pops up with this screen, and I can manually remove them without having to remove the whole subset of them. And when I close this, click OK, it's going to actually reorder all of those citations. Say for some reason you had to update the citation and it didn't manually change the page numbers here, you just click this Update Citations and Bibliography here. One thing that I don't think gets used enough is this manuscript matcher. So what that's going to do is, once you write your paper, you can upload it into Manuscript Matcher, and it will tell you what paper is, what journal is most likely going to accept your paper. And that might help you target a journal if you're not sure the best one to use. I do also recommend Jane for this too. And the reason why I like Jane is because it's not attached to a certain publisher. It's just open source software. So if you put your title and abstract in here, it will tell you like a relevancy of who will accept the paper, which is nice. But I have found that the manuscript matcher in EndNote is a little more precise and has a higher rate of reliability than Jane. But I do like Jane because there's more options in it, because it's not down to a particular publisher. Okay, so I think that, sorry, we need to do setting up alerts real quick, and then I'll stop talking. I know I've been talking for a really long time. So in PubMed, you can set up those alerts really easily. Create alert, which I'm not logged in, so that's not going to work. But anyways, it essentially just asks you, it takes the search that you have here, and anytime a new publication is published, it will send you an email. You can have it sent for like the beginning of the week or on a certain day or a certain frequency. I highly recommend that you don't do it on Mondays. I found people don't look at them if it comes in on Monday. Tuesday is a much better day to set your alert. It's also available in Scopus, Web of Science, Embase. So pretty much any journal that you look at, and then read by QXMG. Is that Pinterest that I was telling you about here. So I could go into journals and say I want to follow New England Journal of Medicine. It will alert me as soon as that journal is published every week or month or whatever its published date is, which is really, really nice. And it will send you like the table of contents, which you can do on each individual journal's website, but then you have 10 million emails. And if you use a software like this, it's just way easier because you're only getting one. And like I said, you can do by journals, papers, or topics. So if we entered urology, I'm sure that there is a ton of different pre-made things that you can look at, which is also really, really nice. Okay, does anyone have any questions? And I'm so sorry that I talked for so long. I just wanted to make sure that you guys are getting the most of this hour.